Today is March 28th of 2025. Thank you very much for joining us today. We've got about 67, 68 participants on. We'll do introductions of our staff and then get into our agenda. We do not have Michael with us today for our Deaf Culture 101 and our Sign of the Week, but I believe Michelle Duchesne can put the link in the chat for our YouTube for him this week. One of the reasons why we do the introductions as well of our community services staff and our managers that join this meeting is that we want to ensure you as service providers are able to put a face to the name a little bit when you get these emails or communication. Also for, as I say, for client services, it's a great way to have that a little bit of a recognition of who those managers are. Many of folks were service coordinators before, but again, just helpful for the recognition. So I'm going to introduce staff. I see Dee Dee on and Shauna from Community Services. Good morning. From Client Services with manager Cindy Lay on. Good morning. And we have our manager Scott on, and from Community Services, I see Tom and Christine and Alejandra and our lead Jason, and I see Boyd and Jessica on as well. Good morning. Our manager Michelle is on. Kylie is on, who's going to give us a little HCBS grant presentation later. And Dana from Client Services is on. Good morning. And we've got from Community Services Marty and Beverly, and our manager Helen is on. Good morning. From Client Services, again, we have Max Robertson, as well as our manager Jordan is on. Good morning, Jordan, our Specialized Services and Supports Unit. And for Community Services as well, Mason and Sharon and Jaslyn and Rihanna and Damien. Good morning. Let's see. We have Ethan on from Community Services and Megan finding time once again away from court briefly to join us as well. Good to see you. And then my assistant, Zach, we've got Virginia and Christy on and Damien as well. So good morning to all of you that have joined us. As I mentioned, we do not have Michael Mercado on. He's taking a very well-deserved day off today. And so for our agenda, we are going to do a vendor spotlight with McClaskey, as I mentioned. We have an update on the HCBS grants. We're going to do an update on the rate study and the acknowledgement letters. We are going to talk about the master plan for developmental services. And we are also going to discuss the assembly hearings that occurred. We had assembly budget hearings this week. And so, again, at Coffee with Community Services, we like to ensure that you as service providers are very aware of the things that are going on statewide. So I am going to throw it over to Marla, though, to start with a spotlight. Take it away, Marla.
Hi, good morning, everyone. You have to excuse my voice. I'm just coming off of a week-long cold now. But I'm the new director of adult education for Sacramento City Unified School District. And I just wanted to spend a few minutes introducing myself and as well talking about A. Warren McClaskey, which is one of our adult schools in Sacramento City Unified School District. It's our adult schools for students with disabilities. So we have ultra-regional clients that are either 18 with a high school diploma or 22 and older without a high school diploma. We offer, we're in East Sac on J Street. We have community access programs. We have socialization classes, 3 different community classes, beginning, intermediate, and advanced, where they are out into the community. And we also have an amazing gardening program that does their fall sale and spring sale. April 25th is our spring sale, which is pretty awesome. Anyway, good time there with a good gardening. We also have a recycling program for where students are paid to do the recycling for our district. But we offer these classes. They are for ultra-regional clients. We are looking to enroll. We're going to have an open house If anybody would like to be invited to that, we can get that information out to you. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew about McClaskey here in Sacramento, and that if you had any questions, you can reach out to me as the new director, or Clifton Carley, who most of you know. He is the coordinator for adult ed at McClaskey. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
So, Dr. Johnson, can we get you to put your email in the chat just so if folks do want to connect with you? You've got about 82 folks on right now, and certainly want to support the efforts over there at McClaskey.
You bet.
I'm going to do a check-in on the. Let me see if anyone has any questions for Dr. Johnson. Anyone? No? All right. Well, thank you so much, and please don't hesitate to reach out to her. And it's Clifton is the other person as well?
Yeah, Clifton Carley, he's our coordinator of adult ed for Sac City, but he manages McClaskey. I manage the Charles A. Jones Skills Center. So both of our email addresses are in the chat, and we look forward to hearing from anybody.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let's see here. I wonder if I have Loretta or Bonnie or anyone from the Sacramento County Developmental Disability Council folks that might want to do a plug. Maybe you do. If you do, well, I'll do a little plug for you. We're trying to do some recruitment for that group here locally. And so, oh, I see Bill's hand up. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
That was an error. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So now I will be throwing it over to Kylie, I believe.
Yep, good morning. I'm going to share my screen really quickly. I just want to give kind of a little quick shout out to HCBS grants, which have been announced. Are we seeing my screen?
Looks good.
Awesome. Yeah. So DDS released that we are doing another round of HCBS grants. So that's really exciting. If you see here, we were given between all regional centers $15 million and we split that. So Alta Regional got $892,020 to support HCBS compliance. So this is going to the providers, and essentially DDS has outlines for priorities of these funds, what we want to see these be used for. So I'm not going to bore you by reading out each of these, but this was sent out earlier this month to all providers. And if anyone needs another copy of this, I can put my HCBS email in the chat and feel free to reach out. I'll send it again. But essentially, these funds are meant to promote and support HCBS compliance. So these are going to all of the providers. We're looking for those grant proposals. We are asking those to be turned into us by April 18th, no later than that. And then we're going to be turning those in to the Department of Developmental Services by May 19th. And then here you see what we need outlined in the proposals. And again, this went out earlier this month to all providers. And then really quickly, I'm just going to pull this up. I know some of you are providers at different regional centers. So here you can kind of see where the 15 million was split between different regional centers. So you see Alta Regional at the top with our funding amount, and then it's just kind of varied throughout the different regional centers. So again, here's what the proposal, what we're looking for. So just quickly to go over this, you identify and address the barriers to CMS HCBS compliance, providing the information for your proposal. In those, we would like to see the priorities noted specifically. So when you send in the proposals, what priorities are you specifically going to be addressing in that ask of the grant? And then again, we want you to be specific, how many clients and individuals this is going to impact, what you're requesting, what items, and if it's staff training, providing additional details such as number of people who be trained and who will the training be supporting, and just stuff like that. So again, this was sent out earlier this month. These are the different priorities listed. So establishing or continuing teams to work and monitor services and things like that. So I'm going to put the HCBS email in the chat, and then feel free to reach out to us, send in those proposals by April 19th, please. And then if you need another copy of that, reach out and we can send that to you.
All right, so want to see if anyone has any questions for Kylie or the HCBS team. Um, I will be very honest. I don't know how many more years this is going to be available, folks, for you as regional center for implementing HCBS, the federal laws. And so, with that, I really hope that we can be very thoughtful this year and how we want to look at trying to use this pot of money. I think we should think of every pot of money that we get from the state as something that may not be there and available the next year, but with that, I just want to take the temperature for folks, and you can drop it in the chat if this is something that you may be interested in. I don't know what percentage of you that are on right now. We've got 91 folks on, about 20 people, our staff, have actually turned in one of these requests in the past. I know that we give you opportunities to reach out to our staff to get ask questions. Is this an appropriate type of thing? But I would love if we could put forth some things that we're really proud of this year, as far as really trying to meet these, specific uh, uh, priorities of the HCBS grants. And so, what I want to see in the chat, I guess, is I wonder if we could reserve some time in a coffee with community services session of like maybe like a half hour of an agenda item between now and April 18th to just talk about this a little bit more in depth, maybe some ideas that people might have, or maybe we can ask Kylie or the rest of the team to highlight projects that they feel have been really successful over the last couple years that are ripe for replication, because would love to just see an overwhelming number of responses from you guys this year. I want our staff working so hard to review all of these requests that are going to come in. And so, is that something that you as service providers would be interested in having here at Coffee with Community Services? Is maybe just a little in-service talking about what's worked and then being able to kind of ask questions. If that's something you'd like to do, we can do that and just drop it in the chat if that's something, or bring me a little thumbs up like Medi did. Gives us an idea if that's something that we want to make a space for, and then our staff, can be prepared that let's look at some of those things that have really met what we felt the goals were. I know one thing we've talked about here in this group is the DSP collaborative from the state really aligns with what they were trying to do with this funding. They love the idea of that, the regional center working directly with service providers, developing an intervention that they feel is going to be supportive in being able to try to really individualize services for clients that are person-centered. And so I think I'm seeing the chat here. I think that let's Scott, we can maybe plan our team to be prepared for that, and we'll work with Michelle and Jason maybe to look at the agenda and see when we can best fit some time. And I know I'm going to be gone at some conferences between now and then. I'll be at the California Community Living Network conference, presenting about the DSP Collaborative on that Friday morning of Coffee with Community Services. And I think the week before then, I may also be at the ARCA meetings. And so maybe between now and then, if we can schedule some time, Jason, but would love to make this like, so again, really things that we're proud of. We're working collaboratively with Dana to take a look at LAC funding, language access and cultural competence funding as well. And I'd love seeing the creativity of the different ideas that people have. And so I just hoping that we can get some of that creativity on the HCBS side with different ideas too.
Also, really quickly, John, I also just want to say, like, if anyone has like an inkling of an idea of what they would want to use this grant for, send it in to us. And, no idea is a bad idea. And we are more than willing to work with you guys to kind of help mold the idea into something that kind of fits into HCBS. So if anyone has like any kind of idea, like feel free to send it in, and my team and I are more than willing to set up a meeting and we can kind of talk you through it and kind of help develop that idea together. So really no idea is a bad idea. And again, like this is a grant funding that's really going to go out to you guys and help support our clients. So it's a really good opportunity.
Another area of influence, just as it relates to developing priorities and looking at how we want to utilize the funding, is that we do have our provider advisory committee meeting that's coming up next month. And I would like, and I think we've got our representatives on here from there. And so I'd like to look at getting that on the agenda for our provider advisory committee. And I don't know if there's something that as a provider group, you are interested in the regional center saying, hey, this should be a priority, or that you guys want to band together. Certainly there's opportunities that they discuss about communities of practice. It's just, again, trying to ensure that we are making the best utilization of these funds to really meet the charge of those the federal guidelines. Any questions? All right, so we're gonna get some more opportunities in front of folks between now and when these are going to be due. Thank you very much, Kylie, for the presentation, and for all the HCBS staff that are going to be reviewing these. I appreciate the hard work in advance that I just added to you. And then for the DSP Collaborative, I just would share that we are on track for an expansion to Los Angeles County with this additional HCBS funding opportunities. So our regional center is not doing any additional investments, or very minimal additional investments at this time financially into the DSP Collaborative, because we've already funded it out for a few years locally, but we are working on that expansion with the 7 regional centers in Los Angeles County. East LA Regional Center reached out to us first about it. Their provider advisory committee, or what they call their vendor advisory committee down there, met with us a long time ago about this, and they are taking the lead for Los Angeles County. And each of the regional centers down there have expressed that they are going to establish a point of contact to help support, again, the expansion of the DSP Collaborative. Additionally, I will update everyone that there certainly has been a lot of feedback from the other regional centers throughout the state about this being able to be available statewide and open to all the counties in the state of California. Carly's been working closely with Marketing Works, the company that is got the website development, but the important thing about doing the DSP collaborative work is not just being on the website, but it's also the promotion of it through the social media that we do, the job fairs that we do. And so we're very excited. Carly and I are going to be working closely with Valley Mountain Regional Center to do this next expansion to Los Angeles County for the DSP collaborative. And then from there, looking at a further expansion to the other regional centers throughout the state of California. And again, just an example of utilizing HCBS funds to really have a big impact. So other things I just would like put out there, we have the roommate matching app, and my understanding was that was one that was funded through an HCBS grant originally as well too. And so it's creative, it's different than what you may kind of think of, and that's what we're really hoping for and looking for as well, and things that can really demonstrate impact, certainly too, and things that can have lasting impact and not just impact during the grant time frame. So alrighty, enough on HCBS. Thank you so much for all of that. Let's see, I'm going to jump over to rate study, and we're going to do a little, probably 10-15 minutes here based on, we'll see how much questions folks have about things right now. And I'm going to ask, I was on a bit of a vacation and returned back to the office and dealing with the status of running towards the end of the month here for the Department of Developmental Services charge to the regional centers to get our service providers acknowledgement forms out and updated and accurate. When I last met with folks 2 weeks ago, I shared the ongoing challenges that we've had as regional centers related to the data that we are receiving from the Department of Developmental Services in the form of your rates and the accuracy of the information that we really need to aggregate it effectively and send it out to 1,300 different, for 1,300 different rates. And really it's looking probably more like 700 different rates, or 700 more than that, because we've got a significant number of usual and customary rates and Medi-Cal set rates that we also have to look at doing acknowledgement forms down the road. Those are not the biggest priority for us. The biggest priority is those of you that have had rate changes and are having retroactive payments back to January needing to be put in place by our regional center. Usual and customary service providers, their only reason for getting the acknowledgement letter is just to align them with the directive and the description of the new service codes, but it doesn't actually impact the rate setting aspect of it for those providers. So with that being said, the department reached out to us last week, right, Michelle Duchesne? They reached out and said, hey, where are you guys at? What's your percentage of completion for the forms? And with that, we felt that we were at about 20% of the completed forms having been sent out by our vendor coordinators. With that, the process is for us to download that information, but we continue, since we last met here, to receive feedback from the department that there are errors that have existed within the rate workbooks and that they are still correcting those errors. And again, I just want to talk about the ripple impact of that when we have to take all of the information and get it out to all of you. If some of the information is bad and we find out about it after we've already printed up, 800 letters or sent them out to you and sign now, again, it just impacts us. So we are in a process right now of really waiting to ensure that we've got as accurate information as possible from the department, because that is our charge as it relates to your rates, so that you can get your acknowledgement letters. Every service provider is going to be entitled to their transitional rate, and their transitional rate may mean that they haven't changed service codes yet. So like, for example, because I can see Andrea right there in my picture on the thing, I'll pick on an Alliance like I love to. So they may be still under an old service code, but if they're slated to get a rate increase to move to a new service code, even if they haven't got their acknowledgement form yet, they're going to be eligible for that rate increase effective January 1. That's their transitional rates. Many of you have gotten those transitional rates. Some of your rate methodologies may have already transferred over, but there's some that haven't yet. Notably, we seem to have and I don't know if I have any questions yet, but I just want to talk about transportation real quickly because it kind of came up during our provider advisory committee meeting. And I just want to make sure, because I know Eric is as in the loop of these discussions as I am. I know Priscilla from It's a Breeze is in these discussions as well. Things seem to have kind of taken a pause, it seems like, as it relates to transportation meetings and discussions about the rates. I think the last feedback that we got from the state was that they were going to be going back and resurveying closed transportation providers, 875 vendors, related to their costs, to be possibly updating their rate models. But Eric, have you seen additional correspondence come out from the department at all related to that? Because I don't know if I've missed it or kind of the status.
No, for the work group, the transportation work group is doing, it's been, from what I can tell, paused informally. They haven't said that it's a pause. We saw the draft. I feel like I can say that they shared a draft of what that data collection form would look like to survey transportation providers on their operating costs, things like fuel costs and insurance costs, because we, just like with some other services, the data in the models are not correct. So it produces an incorrect rate. So we saw a version of that. We know that Burns or HMN. Oh, man. Anyways, they are involved in that project. I thought it was going to go out. I always thought we were maybe a week away from it going out. So it's clearly been paused for some reason, and I don't know the reason why. And I think with the hearings that we were just coming up on and everything else, I think the folks that need to be involved in those decisions potentially are waiting. So I'm not sure if it's a temporary pause to get through this deadline with the rate letters and the hearings, or if maybe there's a larger proposal being considered. So I think we're kind of at a wait and see right now with that, with transportation.
So that's the most up-to-date information we can have. I know Eric and I are at the highest level groups in the state, and my assumption was, Eric, that with the assembly hearings and the preparation that needed to happen with that may have also put a little pause on things. We are going to get into the assembly hearings here shortly, but that being said, just for you that are transportation providers, we know that you can rattle off a few other service codes like respite, early start services. There's a number of other services, even residential, that they're kind of looking at the rate methodologies for. It's just, transportation has been completely unsettled almost this entire time, and we're still really trying to identify the disparities between what this rate model is suggesting and what you as transportation service providers would really be seeing as your revenue post the hold harmless date in June. For those of you, and I know this is a lot of information, your specialists hear this stuff every single week from me, and we talk about it in meetings, and they can elevate questions to their management. I know Michelle Duchesne has talked about offering office hours as well to providers that have specific questions, but it's for those of you that are the crosswalk vendors, the ones that are involved in needing to change like service codes and getting clarification from the department and possibly exemption requests. I know there's a lot of outstanding questions related to that still. And then I know largely on the transportation side, we continue to hear, lots of necessity for clarification. So I just wanted to again plug Damien, who is extremely responsive, Michelle, who's extremely responsive. I am much less fast responding. There's no closed door. It's just mine does not open as fast as theirs does, like in reality. And so please utilize the specialists at the level to get your questions answered as quickly as possible. Right now, just because there's a lot of it. And so want to see if anyone had any other questions about transportation or any of the other rate information. Yeah, please, Eric, go ahead. Yes.
You mentioned respite. Can you clarify it? So for respite, that's one of those codes that we're unbundling with mileage and things like that. I know that raises complications, and I was just meeting with Amy Wessling about, she was kind of asking about what sort of issues providers are having concerns about migrating to these new rates with rate reform, things like that. And respite came up. And so I'm just curious, is Alta experiencing any sort of technical difficulties around
my biggest technical difficulty right now is that the department has not expressed how we can add mileage to their rate models. Like a few months ago, we got word that the department was going to put out information that allows us to layer additional mileage in possibly for like respite that's too far, or SLS it's just beyond what they had calculated, so that we can really serve our diverse geographic area. And we're still waiting for that. And so it's tough because you have folks that are used to being able to have multiple purchases, and it just slows down, I feel like, our move to the new rate models if we still don't have the capacity to figure out how to make those types of mileage adjustments for people that have to travel much farther throughout our catchment area. So for right now, and Michelle Duchesne and I were talking about this yesterday, we're kind of putting things on holdish as it relates to holdish. That's very concrete terminology, but we're not talking about making these changes to the transitional rates over to the new rate models fully, because we're really waiting on the department to get us that information about what we're supposed to do for those longer mileage situations.
I think that's sort of the challenge. So we met as the California Respite Association directly with Michi and a few others about this before those directives that we now are talking about were even released. And at that time, we thought there was agreement at the department about how those were going to be, that those resources would be calculated into the hold harmless calculations. So it's interesting. I think that's something that's hard for some of us as advocates. Sometimes we talk and we see these directives beforehand, and I bet the regional center has the same concerns. And you're saying, hey, you're going to run into these issues. Can we get clarity? And they say, no, it's going to happen this way. It'll be fine. And then later down the road, we see that come up as an issue. Okay, let me know if we can be involved in that, because obviously we're involved in.
When you want me to advocate for it, provide me with the disparity between what the rate model has for your mileage and give me like a month's worth of data on what you're actually doing. Like that type of stuff, like I can take that information if we get pulled into a respite group, and right away that is something that we can use to say, hey, like this is slowing down our transition to these new rates, because we got to be able to calculate this stuff and help support our providers, or as you say, keep them in the held harmless. But then we still got to figure it out by June of 2026.
We provided that for UCP, so if you want to take a look at that. But This is about UCP. I just wanted to know if there's a larger concern. It sounds like there is around exactly how to do.
SLS provided, so that would be open to like an SLS provider too, like if an
Yeah.
SLS provider will have that mileage calculation for specific individuals that they're serving or whatever, and you want me to help make an argument about this, because we have these smaller meetings with the department as well related to rate study, and so that data is really helpful, and and I believe the department's working on this, I just don't know what the status is on how regional centers are going to be allowed to add that to the new benchmark rates. Andrea, is your question for you too? Please go ahead.
I have to unmute first. So they are rate study adjacent-ish.
Yeah.
One question as far as the job development rate in the rate study, is there going to be any guidance of how to access that rate once it is available, as it was only job coaching prior?
Oh, I'm supposed to be an expert on this stuff. But my expert, I don't believe. Alejandra, do you know, or does any of our, I know Carly's not. Oh,
know
Michelle's
if
right there.
No.
She's got it.
Yeah, so on the directive, it does show how to access that billing. I will let you know that anyone that had the job development or job coaching on there, we've connected with Carly. She's actually at an event today. But we have added that subcode for all of those service codes so that you guys can access, because you technically were doing both. So the new acknowledgement. Oh, go ahead.
So I guess then, do we need a new purchase of service? Would we then have
Yes.
particular types of, okay, because then my manager's asking me, should I be requesting those now? Because she's real eager to do some job development.
They haven't been added at this time because they're included in the new acknowledgement forms. But yes, on the directive, it'll show the different defining on when you can bill for each, and there's different subcodes for them. So you'll see those on your new rate table once acknowledgements are signed and we were able to update the rates.
I just, this would be a good time for us to remind folks of what we told case management last month, that by and large, we may be making a lot of these changes in July. But like from the transitional rates to the new rate setting, we have to write procedures for our service coordinators to ensure that they know how to write the purchases, how to have discussions within the planning team meetings. And we just have, there's so many different service codes that this is involved in right now. And so that's the charge of staff right now, is they're kind of working on identifying those things, looking at different procedures that we have. But if it's earlier than July 1, you'll know that through, discussions from our community services department. But honestly, like a lot of these things, especially stuff, that require, within Helen's unit, there's some that require lots of different authorization type changes that service coordinators haven't had to make before. Other questions about the rate study? Andrea, yeah?
I did have one other thing that's
Of course.
also adjacent. It's just so some of us from the provider committee got together as far as the crosswalk 05506 whatever issue.
I heard Jay's the new leader, but I appreciate
he is the
I
new
appreciate
leader
you
of that.
talking for him. He's smiling at me.
I see him in the corner, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So we did create a small survey just that we're hoping to share wide. That's really quick, just to see how many folks are turning in exemption and kind of what that looks like, to help kind of collect some of that information. We'll be sending it to various like CCLN, CDSA, and some other things, but I was hoping to add it into the chat here, if that's okay, for folks who might be interested. So, okay. So it's just about the crosswalk and if you think you fit in there or not, and why. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Thank you. That was my only 2 questions.
Absolutely. Again, we've been doing this meeting now for over 3 years, 4 years almost. With Coffee with Community Services. This is your guys' meeting. This is our opportunity to try to create a forum for you guys to ask questions and understand, like in real time, what's going on with our regional center, especially as it relates to community services and the impact to service providers. So all of you that are on are encouraged to unmute yourselves, ask questions, turn your camera on, and engage in it. And then I do want to recognize what Lindsay put in the chat. If you guys, I think it was for all of us, and if it's not, it's going to be. Oh, good. It was for all of us. Is that it is really important, and we figured it out during COVID, that any of the trainings that we do provide to our service coordinators, it's so important for you all to be aware of it, as well as it relates to things like authorization changes and expectations. We've been really communicating closely with our accounting department over these last few months related to challenges that you all have been receiving related to receiving timely authorizations for services. And it is coming into focus for me the level of not only the impact that it has to you as service providers, but many of you have worked with me for, a decade or more and have heard me, or Iqbal, till we're blue in our face, talk about not initiating services with our clients and continuing services unless you have an authorization, from our regional center. And when there's things like mass changes of authorizations, I don't want to bring up like alternative services and what went on with many of you for months and months and months trying to get, authorizations fixed after we switched over with alternative services. So I will acknowledge and certainly share that the training and information that we give to, Max's team of service coordinators will be the same information that we can share with you as service providers about how to update authorizations and the impact of things too. Even the idea that the mileage is now built into the rates, and that when you have a discussion with the service provider, you're going to have to explain to them that when they're taking an authorization, this is the revenue that's going to be available to them, and it's very well defined now within the rate study, and that's considerations that you are all going to have to take now when you're looking at accepting new clients, is based off of what the rate study will allow, kind of for your compensation moving forward. And that's why I appreciate the advocacy, because what have we identified? Mileage may not be completely thought of in all of this, and we need additional information. There was a question in the chat about for supported living agencies, what may be needed. Again, I would just say if you would like me to lend the voice of advocacy about trying to get the mileage, the additional mileage possibly added in a couple of these different service codes, if you wanted to provide to me a very clear picture of, on average, this is because we know what the rate study says as far as the number of miles that are supposed to be calculated. But if you have information that you can aggregate across, clients that you serve that shows a disparity because your costs are much higher, I would just say now would be an opportune time to do that and share it if you'd like to with me. And if you take the time to do it, I will make sure that it is utilized in discussions at a statewide level. Any other questions about rate study stuff?
And I don't know how to raise my hand, but I just wanted to give everyone an update on the office hours. That's okay. So I just want to connect with you. I've been kind of pushing down the dates a little bit, or pushing them off, because our workbooks have still not been fully updated. So I wanted to allow everyone the opportunity to look at those before we had the office hours. But I do just encourage, I've had a lot of providers reach out to me with questions, and I've been forwarding them to specialists and getting those questions answered to you ahead of time. So please, in the meantime, don't hesitate to reach out, send us your questions, and I will make sure to either answer those, follow through, or your specialist. So that's just my update.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Just real quickly, I just want to share something before I move on to the next thing. I had an opportunity a little bit earlier today, this morning actually, to go to the Vacaville office of North Bay Regional Center to meet with the statewide emergency coordinators. So you could see Hubert from Alta right there in the middle, but these are all of the emergency coordinators. This is the Director of Community Services from Valley Mountain Regional Center, Brian, who some of you may work with. And there's, of course, my whole face can't fit into a picture, but I was there as well. But our executive director had an opportunity to talk at our board meeting last night about the emergency coordinator positions that DDS has funded through the regional centers. And I know Hubert's not on this meeting, but I would echo that appreciation that we have these positions at the regional centers that can really support us when we have these emergencies come up, but also support us for other things as well. Jay had a meeting, Jay Colvert from SEP had a meeting with us recently related to some process issues with purchases of service. Many of you have meetings with us related to challenges with purchases of service. But in Jay's particular meeting, one of the things that we were talking about was emergencies and how we could possibly utilize Hubert in the role to support case management when we have clients that are in like emergency hotels. And so again, I just appreciate that the department has created a position where we can provide additional support to case management And he's folded into our community services family within Jordan's unit, works very closely with Sharon, works very closely with Michael Mercado. And so, again, just want to acknowledge that, and also just say it was so cool getting to hang out with all of those folks from all the different regional centers this morning, and hear about all the ways that they are being utilized within their local areas to support the mission of ensuring the health and safety of our clients when we have disasters and emergencies. And those folks that worked in those fires in Los Angeles, I met the person from Westside Regional Center that dealt with the Palisades fire, and it was 24/7 for a lot of the things that were going on there for a while. So anyways, just wanted to mention that. And then wanted to touch on, and many of you are much better versed in this, so I'm going to ask any of our providers that are part of, I believe we're calling it the Capital Coalition still, or that is the name, right? Someone nod their head, yeah? Okay, good. Or others related to the Master Plan for Developmental Services. Can someone tell me what is the date that they're supposed to release the next version? Is it today, or is it tomorrow, or does anyone know? Or is it out? Or I'm about to find out myself. All right, I'm sharing my screen, folks.
I saw a draft yesterday, but I'm not sure if that was out.
Is it still 100 and something pages? Let's see.
Yeah.
So the initial
That's
draft
a lot
master
of-
plan, I think this might be, the last public meeting was March 19th. I don't know if this is the newest version. Nope, this is the one from before. So they have not posted a newer version yet. My understanding is that from the last master plan meeting that they were going to be synthesizing down a number of the recommendations. I had an opportunity to present at a couple housing conference, well, one housing conference. When was that? Last week? Oh my goodness. That we had at Alta. And one of the things that I mentioned was that for the draft master plan, there is 90 mentions of housing within the draft master plan. And to give you some context, I think there's less than 20 references to transportation throughout the document. There's less than 5 references to day services. There's less than 10 references to the person-centered term within the document. And part of the reason of that is because no one was assigned to work on housing in the master plan. So it looks like everyone made recommendations across a bunch of the different work groups. Is that a good classification of that, Jay? Because I think you're our lone representative.
Yeah, it was, there was nobody that was specifically addressing housing or transportation, so it was kind of getting thrown in a bunch of different places. We had Shayla that was part of our group, and so she wrote, I don't know, 30 pages on it. So it was very complicated.
I will say, certainly there's a lot to digest within the draft, and there will be a lot to look at for the final version that ends up getting posted. But I was very pleased to see some of the things that we feel have been successful as far as doing set-aside housing for people with developmental disabilities, having sustainable rates for housing access services, are things that are prominently mentioned within the recommendations that were given. And again, my credit goes to you all as service providers that are actually doing those services and showing successes that can be replicated statewide and should be replicated statewide. So that's kind of the master plan. It'll be posted. I know when the newsletter for Alta should come out by the end of next week. And Lori will have a discussion in there about the master plan, and then we're going to have some links available. And I would not be surprised if it's not a topic at the Provider Advisory Committee that will be coming up next month as well. Oh goodness, I hope she's on vacation, but if Carol Watillo is around, I just ask her to unmute, or maybe we'll just talk about her behind her back if she's not here. But Carol Watillo, Jordan and I had the pleasure of watching I'm going to share my screen. We watched the Assembly hearings, and I frequently will tell you as service providers that it is very important for you to be aware of what's going on at a state level, and you lending your voice in participation in these work groups like the employment committee that Carol Watillo has been part of from Progressive, or the smaller work groups like Eric's even talking about as it relates to the rate study for transportation and for respite. You all are the people that are directly interacting with clients and the planning teams every single day and are recognizing the impacts of the policies that are being put in place and the way things are operationalized at a regional center and a Department of Developmental Services level. So I just want to commend Carol Wattillo. She had an opportunity to testify for the Assembly Budget Subcommittee. I feel like she did an excellent representation just of you all as service providers and your ability to participate at that state level, and also really focused on something that is near and dear to me, which is working in a coordinated fashion to try to address issues that are going on. And part of Carol's testimony was that, she will sit in meetings and hear that there is other meetings that have gone on that are discussing the exact same thing with different entities and not sharing some of that stuff. And that also, it almost kind of speaks a little bit to the comment in the chat about our training for our purchases of service. It's keeping people in the loop, keeping people informed. And so I would encourage you. I know there's going to be Senate hearings coming up as well. I believe Eric gave public comment at this one as well related to respite too. And probably some of you others. I didn't see everyone that was on the meeting, but again, Jordan and I we wish we had popcorn. We were sitting there in my office watching it, and we're just very pleased again to see the representation. The information that's contained within the agenda that is posted for these is got, I would say, in many cases, the most up-to-date information that the state can provide related to our system. And so I'm going to drop that into the chat right there so that you can take a look at the agenda. And just also knowing, and I don't have it up right now, but this is a process that's going to be going on, between now and the summer. And we're going to have the Senate hearings coming up. We're going to have additional hearings with the May revision of the budget. I believe we're looking at something along May 16th or something like that. Sometimes it happens during the Provider Advisory Committee meeting that they drop the May revision. That's always fun. But we just want to encourage your involvement in this process. And then again, take a look at the materials that are there, because it really does give you up-to-date information as it relates to things like the master plan, the department's stance on employment services is in there. I do want to touch on something that Jordan and I kind of witnessed in there, and I don't know if any of you that were watching or in the room can give me a little bit more context about Assemblymember Jackson's comments related to the Office of, I guess, CIE or employment not being created by the state. And it seemed like that was a little bit of a surprise to some different folks, and I thought that was where the state was going to. Has anyone got any more information about that? It just seemed like it kind of was dropped in the middle of the hearing, but I did not know, I think in advance, that was going to be the case. Anyone? No one's familiar with that? Okay.
It came up a little bit in discussion yesterday in another provider, community provider conversation that it wasn't funded and he was upset that it should be. So that came up a couple of times. So there was a few people that were like, hey, what was that about? So
okay. Well, I certainly would love to certainly learn more about that. Like many of us that have been following Employment First since 2013 have saw it sit with state council for many years, and there's some different factors with the ending of subminimum wage that kind of put things into overdrive, and I felt like we were going towards having a very clear picture of what like a new statewide support or oversight would look like for it. And I guess maybe it's shifting now. And so it just was strange because it didn't seem to come out in anyone's testimony, but then it got brought up by him at the end, and I wasn't really sure about that. So we'll again, with our board of directors has got employment as just a huge priority for our regional center, and so we look very closely to what the state's lead is for different types of opportunities, and so we'll see how it shakes out in the May revise as well. Eric, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was really encouraged to hear Dr. Jackson speak so strongly about that getting not funded. So I think that advocates got to him, and hopefully we'll see some changes there. I just want to mention that as kind of a outside of the hearing, we're going to have an opportunity to meet with we, meaning the California Respite Association, which I'm a part of, is going to have an opportunity to meet with Dr. Jackson specifically about respite, and then also with Pete Cervenka, the director. So that he wanted to have a conversation as well. So groups of us are getting together to talk about that. So if there's any sort of common issues We've certainly got agenda items to share, but I just wanted to offer that opportunity to folks here who provide respite or who have some concerns that would like to maybe collaborate or share messages that maybe we could represent in those meetings well, if we have the opportunity for either Dr. Jackson or the department. So.
Excellent. We have some upcoming things. I always like give the last 2 minutes for upcoming activities. So I want to throw it over to Lindsay Daiba if I can first. And then if we've got Progressive or anyone else that wants to share about upcoming things. Lindsay.
Hello. So tomorrow, you guys should be seeing this Spring Fling dance flyer.
Perfect.
So tomorrow from 7 to 9, there's going to be a dance at Futures Explored. It is free to attend. They're really fun. People need to be 18 and over. So yeah, I will drop this in the chat, but please spread the word and bring people.
All right, and let's see what else we have in the chat. Kate, do you want to talk about the upcoming ACRE training?
Yeah, sure. We are, I just put the flyer and the registration link, but we're having another ACRE customized employment training in May. It's the 40 hours, 5 days. So May 13th, 14th, 15th, and 20th and 21st. There's just a plug. There's still, what is it called? There's still money, sorry, I'm opening up the flyer. There's still the $3,000 incentive from DDS, if you complete the ACRE training. So take advantage of that while it's still here. Yeah, hope to see you soon.
Excellent. Any questions for Kate? Cool. All right. I do. Oh, and thank you very much, Lindsay, for putting the Spring Fling flyer in the chat as well. I do want to thank those of you that attended our purchase of service meetings that we had too. So I know that those occurred recently. Our case management folks, our Elijah Jenkins, who does a bunch of statistics for us, always work very hard to get that presentation together and share that information with you all. So appreciate folks attending that. I never know when people are new to the regional center, so I want to make sure that folks are aware, and I'll say this, for years, our provider advisory committee used to say you guys need to get a good calendar on your website so that we can send you stuff, and also so that we know what's going on with the regional center. And I feel like we've got a pretty good calendar with like lots of things filled out in them, and just encourage folks to take a look at it, look at the upcoming events. For those of you, obviously many of you have staff that are working directly with clients. If it's something that clients would benefit from, please don't hesitate to bring them to these events that we post on our website. And I do want to share that we do have an upcoming community meeting as well. That's going to be on May 7th. And for the provider advisory committee meeting, I hope maybe Lindsay, maybe you can drop it in the chat just when we've got our upcoming meeting as well, because there'll be a lot of discussions, I'm sure, as it relates to the master plan and the information that came out in the budget hearings, as well as for those of you that come in person, you can come to Alta's new office. We certainly enjoyed hosting the Provider Advisory Committee and our board meetings, and then also the Lanterman Housing Alliance conference at Alta over these last few weeks. Still figuring out some of the audio-visual stuff, still kind of working out some of the bugs, but we're really looking forward to having you all come visit us in our new main office in Natomas. So with that, thank you so much for putting that in the chat, and I'll give folks a second to take a look at that. I'll just check in with Michelle or Jordan or Helen or Scott to see if you guys had anything else. No? Okay. And with that, I would say I hope everyone has a fantastic holiday weekend, and maybe you'll decide to go on spring break after that as well and take a few more days off. But appreciate everyone joining us today. Have a great weekend. we're working on getting those acknowledgement letters out, but we're going to get them out accurately. So you're getting paid, folks, back to January. And if anyone has real big specific issues, please contact that specialist, get in contact with the manager, get in contact with me. They can elevate it to me so that we can make sure that your needs are being met, because you may not quite have a letter yet, but you need some assurances. Okay? Thank you, folks. Have a great weekend.